Tony writes, I live in Seattle, Dan. I'm here now, 74 with sun, and there are some clouds, but no humidity. So it is not hot. One of the answers given to why at some of the venues already for early round games, it looked like there weren't that many people there, was that it was so hot, the sun so unremitting, that people for stretches were going to places where they were in the shade, because it does make sense, because if you think about it, these are basically football stadiums, most of them.
Yes.
But generally, we don't play pro football in June, July, and August, right? We play pro football in September, where in some places it can still be pretty warm, but it's a different sort of situation, and that might make some sense if that's true.
That's why they might have wanted to dome Soldier Field, but your city wouldn't let them.
651, that's true. I think we need, 651 guy writes, I think we need Lavelle and his brother to go on a weekend trip together with Gerby and Randy.
Oh, boy.
And report back at 3 p.m. on a Monday. That would be good.
It's not a bad comp.
Oh, God.
It's not a bad comp of family situations.
It actually isn't. What was the over-under on Lavel's undies? Yeah, he did tell us. Did he say 5?
Yes, I will remember that forever.
Which, again, if you do the math, is concerning to me, because I think they're going to be gone 7 or 8 days.
Yeah, it's
so you're
thin
doubling
margins
up on the undies?
Thin margins.
I don't ever recommend that. In an emergency, I guess you do what you have to do. But I'm not a big believer.
He's also, if you stand by Old Town Scottsdale, there's a nice mall right there.
Oh, you can buy a couple spares?
You'll be able to find some.
Yeah.
There's a Lifetime Fitness there.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe pick up some stuff.
So what's our plan on Blakemore? Maybe get another break in, then get him at the bottom of this hour?
I think so, yeah. I got to make sure. I mean, I'm a little worried he might be crowd surfing at the place where he, oh boy, we lost Dan. Oh, we got a spit take.
Jeez.
We got a spit take. Cameras weren't on. Too bad. That's a shock. I'm a little worried that got to make sure he and Nordo are in good condition. But I'll text him and make sure that we're good to go.
All over my computer
in like 5 minutes or so.
I wasn't ready for that one. I must admit. I really.
We almost did summer hours inadvertently.
That's true.
Losing all the equipment.
That's exactly it. Well, fortunately, I did the spit take away from the stuff that really gets destroyed. 64686 Bradshaw and Bryant, KFAN text line. Let me get to a couple more. I'll save, like I said, I will pay off the tease on the alleged latest reason we should feel really good about the current condition of the New York Knickerbockers. Should make us feel better about what we haven't achieved. It's amazing to me, but we'll save it. I will get to it when I have a little bit more time to develop it. Eddie V's in Scottsdale is Lavelle's type of place. What's Eddie V's? I'm afraid to ask.
I don't know.
Maybe I shouldn't have said it out loud.
Yeah. Let me pull it up here and take a look.
Well, yeah. Be careful. I don't want you, on the internet, I don't want you to get...
It's just a prime seafood place.
Oh, it is? Good. Okay. Yeah. I was afraid it might be.
Nope. Yeah, steaks and seafood.
Might actually be something else.
Jazz performances. It's got a lounge.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It sounds like our kind of place.
That actually sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Things said better. Things that sound better when said by Bob Dylan. I want to read this one to you, and I want you to think about it hard before you comment on it, because I've read it 4 times. It feels mythic, but I'm still not sure I understand it. Well, actually, this is the easy part. So, you know what the backstory is here?
I don't.
New York Times, Donald Trump just, did he just turn 80, or he is 80? And they decided we're going to get some famous people who are already there, have already passed that threshold, to talk about the best thing related to being over 80 and the worst. Okay? Not a bad concept. And in fact, they even asked, if you would offer Donald Trump some advice. Now, Dylan, in typical Dylan fashion, he refuses to play the part that he's asked to play. He didn't really comment on the Trump part of it, one way or the other. But here's what he said to the question of what's the best thing about being 80. He's 85 for the record. He's Lou Nanny's age.
Okay.
The best thing about being 80 is that you outlive the clocks that have been chasing you. It's freedom from that lie that anything was ever under control. You don't chase the parade anymore. You're an old king from some vanished country. You're harder to program. You're not rushing to become anything. And you're not haunted by things that you did. You're haunted by how little of it really mattered in the way you thought it would. Now, I think that's good stuff.
That is good stuff.
That's the part I think that's actually easy to understand and is really profound. A lot of people have always felt that, the Dylan lyrics were cut above most in popular music. I don't know that I always agree with that, but I thought that was very well put. Now, did he write it? Did somebody write it for him? I'm going to give Dylan the benefit of the doubt and say that's from Bob Dylan.
I bet that's from him. Yeah, I bet that's from him.
There's a lot in there.
Yes.
There's a lot in there to think about. I thought it was outstanding. And you know what would be best of all? Is if the Times had found a way to get the people they interview, because I'm not sure all of them are quite as mythic. For example, they asked some of the same questions of Liza Minnelli, and I didn't come away from it quite as impressed with her answers. Yeah. But wouldn't it even be better if you could hear him say it in his words?
Yes.
Where he's voicing the words. And maybe they did, and I didn't even know it. If they did, we'll try to get the audio at some point, but I thought that was very, very good. All right, let's get caught up. I'm already behind for this hour.
Blakemore will be ready on the other side.
Oh, perfect. All right, we'll go to some instant soccer analysis. If you're just joining us, the U.S. has done it again. They take care of business early, build a 2-0 lead on Australia, and hold on to it in a scoreless second half. We are advancing no matter what else happens. All good so far for the United States, even today without Pulisic. Is that how you pronounce the name?
Pulisic.
Pulisic. Yeah, I keep mispronouncing it. I don't know why. Pulisic was not available due to some sort of calf issue, but it didn't really seem to matter. That 100,000 soccer fans in Seattle serenading the U.S. team as they wrapped up a 2-0 victory just ended not that long ago over Australia. A very good scene playing out. Brett Blakemore, kind enough to join us via the Connecticut Water Systems hotline here now. Are you still at the viewing party in Hastings, or are you on your way back now?
We're on the way back. The worst part is I'm going to have to get a new jersey because it got ripped when I was crowd surfing throughout Dugarel and Hastings. So that's an L, but the U.S. did nothing but get W's. So
all right,
I'm pretty proud of that.
Paint the scene at the viewing party. Was it emotional? Was it enthusiastic? Were people into it? What was it like?
Well, people were really into the drink specials, I think. That was the big hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, people were into it. There was some USA chants. There was some excitement, especially some of the close goal chances. People were really, you could hear the whole bar go, "Ooh!" But it was a good scene, and it ended up well.
So the U.S. took your advice. They refused to get behind early. They got an own goal to get up early 1-0, add a second goal in the first half. Which is kind of what you said. It may not have mattered, but you don't want to give Australia a chance maybe to play the defensive style they like to play with the lead, and obviously they never had a chance to have the lead.
Yeah, to be honest, I thought it was embarrassing from Australia the way that they played. They didn't try to generate any offense on their own until like the 75th minute. They just sat back, they let the U.S. have the ball, and they prayed to the Lord that we'd make a mistake. And they did, but not any big mistakes that would hurt them too bad. So I couldn't believe that they weren't changing their strategy until the very end. I think if they changed earlier, they might have been able to get back in it, but they just refused to press or attack. They just let us have the ball, and that's fine. So, the first goal was, it's an own goal, but you earn it, and then an effort play on the second one. That's how you got to beat those teams that are just big and physical.
Now, Dan Minnesota was among those who lost their minds believing that we went to the prevent, football strategy with the 2-0 lead and it was going to cost us. Were you as offended by the U.S. strategy as they were protecting the lead in the second half?
Not as much. I didn't think it was full on in my opinion, Australia was playing prevent down 2 goals when they were still playing prevent. So it is. It's a strategy to try to get a counterattack, and they had a couple, but they couldn't generate anything if they were in possession of the ball. So I don't know. I still think they were trying to attack even towards the end, that being the Americans. So I'm not as offended as Dan.
What can you tell us about Antonio Freeman's kid who got our second goal?
Kind of came out of nowhere. He was in MLS and now he's made the move over, I believe, to Toulouse. He's playing in Europe now. And he really wasn't in any of the projected 11s, but the way that Pochettino moved Serginho Dest further up gave the opportunity for Freeman to come in. And, right after getting a concussion check, after getting headbutted, he scores a goal with his head. In a pure effort play. I've been really impressed, and obviously the local angle, if you're east of the river, is pretty good. So
Pulisic is deemed out shortly before the game. It was, I think some people thought he was going to play. I think you had quoted this morning a report from an Italian journalist suggesting that he was going to play. Obviously, that report was false. So how much of a bonus is it that, I guess looking back, were you concerned that if he didn't play that this game might be trouble, or do you think there's enough talent and depth on this team that it didn't have to mean the end of the world?
I certainly thought, obviously all's well as ends well, because, barring results tonight, we could rest everybody in the third game, we automatically win the group. But, so it could be hindsight, 2020, but going into it, I thought you have to generate offense somehow, and you need guys that can create. And Pulisic's one of those guys. So if you lose him against a team that sits back, it could be trouble. So I was fairly impressed that they managed without him and didn't really miss him all that much.
All right, so we know we're advancing, right? That's now,
correct.
That's been explained to me. That's automatic, correct? And as you say, regardless of what happens in the third game. Here's my neophyte soccer question. When the U.S. is in this position, do we believe in such a thing as don't mess with momentum, keep playing because it all builds on itself? Or does this fall into the classification of almost like in an NBA season or NHL season, you've clinched your position and there's no point in pretending that there's all that much to play for? How does your guy Pochettino handle the next game?
Well, that's the $1 million question, and that's why you go get a big coach, not, someone who's been there, done that. To me, if I'm the coach, it depends on if winning the group is in question, I think you have to play your guy.
Right.
But if it's not, and you've automatically won the group, let's say there's a draw tonight between Turkey and Paraguay, to me, I rest him, and I play kind of a B-plus lineup. Maybe he'll go the momentum route and say, we've got a good thing going, we don't want to lose chemistry, etc. But to me, that's what it all hinges on, is what happens tonight. I don't know where the game's being played. That's what it depends on for me. What
advantage does winning the group get us? Explain that to folks who maybe don't pay attention to the way teams advance in the World Cup to the next round.
So basically gives you a more favorable matchup in the bracket.
Okay.
So everyone, if you advance, you get placed in the bracket. So it's already like we're in Group D. Mm-hmm. So 1D already has a spot lined up in the bracket where they'll be, whoever is 1D at the end of it, which hopefully is us. So then you get to play a team that finished third place in their group instead of if you finish second, now you're placing another second place team. So it's all about seeding and getting a better matchup, a better path going forward.
Yeah, so that does mean something, right? I mean, that
means a lot
when you explain it that way, and that's what I thought, that there were some advantages to it, and we should not get haughty about our position. Through 2 games, is it fair to say that everything that they could have done to sort of advance this thing, not just in terms of, that's how you move on or give yourself the best chance to move on, but advancing the story to a place where it has a better chance to become the story this summer, sports story in the United States of America, that to this point the U.S. has done everything it possibly can. It couldn't be going any better, other than the injury situation.
Yeah, the injury situation stinks, but I tried to kind of warn without warning that this could be an uglier game and not as pretty as the one that took place in L.A. against Paraguay, and it was, because that's how Australia wanted to play. But it's from just purely a results. I mean, you're winning. If you win your group, you give yourself a much better chance to make a deep run just because of matchups. So I think the storyline is as good as there is, and let's face it, it's the pure abyss time.
Yes.
What do we got? The NBA draft to look forward to in a couple weeks. NHL draft, don't even have any picks, so it feels like, anyway.
Go ahead.
To me, it's as good as it gets.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So when you and Papa are both in the same studio, do you guys, glare at each other? Is it an unfriendly rivalry, because it's been set up as Papa used to be our official bumper-to-bumper soccer correspondent. He decided to walk out on us without even really, I think, giving us a chance to negotiate for him. Now he's on the project. And now you've taken his role that he used to have on our show and taking it on our show now. So is there a rivalry there? Is it friendly? Is it unfriendly? Is it tense? How would you describe it?
Well, I'll tell you, I was in studio with him, and he was speaking my language because we have a similar way of thinking as far as he went on about getting the best coach. And, if let's say Pulisic, he plays in Italy, he's not going to come over here and listen to, I know I'm ripping the MLS again, but Papa was saying it too, so it's not just me, that, he's not going to listen to FC Dallas coach guy. He has elite level coaching, and so do most of the guys that play in Europe. So, and the way that we play, we're just talented enough. We don't have to play how Australia played today. We're talented enough to where we don't have to do that anymore, like we did in years past. So, we were on the same wavelength until he said he was an Arsenal fan, and then we got a little testy. Other than that, we're on the same page.
Texts are pouring in for you, including this one from Tony. That he wants to know how you believe Gary Bettman feels about the World Cup seeding approach, I should say. Gary Bettman, that's a nice inside joke. Here's Larry Mondello guy checking in.
If Bettman had it his way, England and France would be playing in the first round.
Very well said. I think this role as soccer wonk might be Brett's big break. Multiple appearances on a highly rated drive time show is huge. And in another short 4 years, he'll once again get a handful of segments to shine bright. That's Larry Mondello guy. How good is that? At least he's thinking about you.
I'll just patiently wait for my turn.
Yeah, he's just thinking,
in 2030.
That's all good. That's good. I appreciate you. I will not see you. So I'm taking Sunday off. Is it you and Russo? Is that correct on Sunday morning?
Me and Russo, you'll get your hockey fill and trade requests and trying to figure out if we can even make a trade with our weapons that we got.
And are the rumors true that Sunday might be the return of worst case scenario?
My understanding is that is highly possible. I haven't had official confirmation, but it seems to be looking that direction.
Here's what I was told. 9 to 11 sermons with Russo filling in. 11 to 1, worst case scenario. 1 to 3, it's the return of the cake show. That's going to be so cool. What a great live and local lineup on Sunday.
We'll have the best thing Guardsy's seen all week. We're ready to roll.
There you go. See? Even better.
Be careful with that joke. Dozens of people will be disappointed if I don't show up at 1 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you. That is Brett Blakemore, official bumper-to-bumper World Cup correspondent. Let's make this the bottom of the hour break. We'll get to some texts and a lot of other stuff, including, as I said, the latest desperate effort to make us feel better about the fact that Karl Anthony Towns won a championship with the New York Knickerbockers. It's scary. Hang on.
You're listening to Barrero.
Another example in regards to what you and I have talked about regarding the flavor portion of this spectacle that is hard not to enjoy, I think, even if you could care less about the soccer. And it's a shot of Scotland's tartan army marching to the sound of bagpipes in Boston before what is coming up, right? A game tonight between Scotland and Morocco. It's brilliant.
That's outstanding.
Tremendous. Yeah. It's absolutely tremendous.
That's so cool.
I'd play it, but the only thing you'd hear would be the bagpipes. The strength in it is the video associated with it.
Yep.
The mob of people with flags, bagpipes in the front, horses, the whole bit. That's the kind of stuff that, again, you can't get. I'm not here to disparage U.S. professional sports in any way, shape, or form. It's just a nice change from it. And so far, most of the fun seems wholesome.
Yeah.
We haven't had. And, speaking of that, before we get to why we should feel better about the Knicks winning a title with Karl Anthony Towns, do we not have to say, in fairness, they had like 4 billion people at the Knicks pep rally.
Yes.
And almost nothing went wrong in terms of trouble, violence.
The worst thing that happened is a bunch of New Yorkers are taking the orange and blue trash cans, dumping out all the trash onto the street and stealing the trash cans.
Yeah.
Not the greatest.
Not recommended.
Wouldn't do it.
Not as bad. It's not as stupid and mindless as we're going to throw eggs at Wemby when he's trying to go back to his hotel.
Or we're going to flip some cars and burn them.
Or we're going to flip some cars. Yeah, that thing. And given the number of people who had to basically wait for an hour just to get up the subway stairs, I thought it went extremely well. I might be Nick's celebration out, even as a guy who likes the team, like you, because
it's time to turn the page.
Man, it's been. I mean, one entire episode of the Tonight Show got turned over.
I know.
To the Knicks. So, in any case, here's why we're supposed to feel not so bad about Cat. Because if you recall, if you want to believe this, and I think there's some truth to it, we traded Cat not because we really deep down wanted to.
Right.
It felt like we were getting boxed in by the new CBA, right? The second apron stuff that if we don't trade him, we're not going to be able to make hardly any other moves. And by the way, we kind of like the two pieces we got back, even if we know that Cat's the best player of the three.
And a first rounder.
Right. And that could end up being a very good player. Who's to say? That's Berenger. So we get all of that. But now here's why we're supposed to feel better. Comments from the chairman of the board, the owner of the Knicks, James Dolan, who in a podcast or an interview he did the other day,
yes, I know what you're talking
basically said, boys and girls, I don't mind spending money, and I'm sure I will spend money, and I'll do everything I can to take the recommendation of the guy who runs my basketball organization, but we are not going to go into the so-called second apron. Can't do it, won't do it, no chance to even think about it. And as a result of that, the moral of the story is supposed to be, well, you were frustrated by the second apron here. Now you find out that it's not just us, it's even the Knicks. Here's the problem with pretending that's a good consolation. They already have their title. That's the sticky wicket. That's the rub. How much easier is it to accept the possibility that you're not going to be able to keep the thing together after you've already worn the crown, been the toast of professional basketball, become this national and international story, right? Now, I'm not saying New York being New York if the team gets broken up, there might not be some frustration that they didn't run the whole thing back. But my God, there's no comparison to being damaged by the second apron before you've even gotten to the promised land and being damaged by the second apron after you've reached the promised land. Can we all agree on that? So I don't think there should be any consolation whatsoever. We don't have that equity in our back pocket. We got to the Final Four before it bit us in the butt, and then we even got back to the Final Four. But now we're desperately trying to trade away the biggest piece we got back in that deal, Julius Randle. And so far, I don't think we can find any takers, quite frankly. We might have to give them away with that number 1 pick. Is it 29 overall? Whatever it is. I'm
28
not sure.
Next week.
28?
Yeah. Yep.
In any case.
No, it doesn't make me feel better.
No.
It only just reaffirms kind of the original reason why they had to trade him. Like, the second apron stuff is real for everybody, and you got to decide if you're going to go into it or not. Well, but it doesn't make me feel better.
No, because, again, they got the crown first. I think it's a lot harder to feel good about it or understand, oh, yeah, second apron. But before you get there, it's much easier to have that in your back pocket. Believe me, they're going to be living off now, again, it's New York, so they'll want everybody fired if they don't reach the finals again next year, regardless. But I just think it's silly. The time when it's easy to accept all of the hazards associated with that kind of run is after you've already won the championship. Because when you look at it from a Wolves fan point of view, it's like, well, but maybe we should have won. Same thing. Let's win the title first. Maybe go one more year in the apron and then go someplace else. Now, I don't know. If you look back on it, who we might not have been able to re-sign. Right. That was a part of the team the last, since we left made sure we were outside of the apron. I'm not exactly sure. But come on, man. We get that everybody has to deal with it, but it's so much easier to deal with it after you won a title. Because winning a title is not easy. And this is it the 8th or 9th straight year it's a different team.
I think at least 8. Yeah.
And that's why I think you in an odd sort of way you value it even more. Some people have said, well, it shows you none of these teams are dynastic. That might well be true, but you could also argue because of the rules that have been set up, it's harder to even win at once, and it even, I think, means more to break through, one time. And I'll tell you this, as cynical as the New York market can be, they ain't going to be cynical about winning this title for the next 12 months.
No,
they are swimming in it.
Yes.
They are as soft and sentimental as any market right now because they've waited as long as they have, 53 years, and they've actually done it. And that's what matters. So if you're trying to sell afterwards, it's a lot easier. I'd always rather have the title first and then have to explain than to have to explain before you get there. Because then there's that faith. Well, you got to have faith in us. We can kind of put this thing together. I'll add this. I don't need another break before the top, do I?
You do not. We're good.
We're good. So if the stories that I'm hearing are accurate, their dilemma right now, one of the Wolves' dilemmas is nobody wants Julius Randle. Now, I think we kind of knew he might not be loved by everybody at this point, but given that his contract's not horrible, he thought, okay, there might be a couple teams that say, hey, the Wolves got some good stuff out of him till it went south. We think we can get some good stuff. What he represents, we think, is a void for us, and we'll take a shot at that with that contract. Why not? So far, it doesn't look like they're getting anywhere on that, and that does worry me because it makes me feel worse about the deal than I felt previously. Because once again, if you are in the group that says the Wolves' hands were kind of tied, that something had to be done, that Towns had to be traded. Although, looking back, you could say, well, you could have traded Rudy instead. You wouldn't have gotten as much, but then you'd still have Cat. We've talked about that a little bit. But if you're resolved that you had to do what you had to do, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to accept a trade that 2 years later has you desperately trying to give away the best player you got back in that deal. At that point, it looks like a worse deal than it did at the time. Again, we got to the Final Four with Randall 1 year. But last year, we didn't come within a sniff of that. I know there were injuries in the mix, but everybody thinks, even organizationally, that they have to move on Randall. Now, maybe the head coach won't admit it, but that's where they are. So then you get back to, well, then it doesn't look like as good a trade as it did at the time. Because then you say, we should have gotten something different from Cat. It's not a good feeling that Cat wins the title without you. You can finesse it on the basis that we had to trade him, but you do not want to think about, well, 2 years later, you're desperately trying to get rid of the main guy in that deal. That's not a good look.
And you can't find a place for him.
That probably means you're going to have to pair your number one with him. And even that, you could say, well, it's a low one, but anymore, that can be a valuable piece that you could have used in some other way. So we'll see. Maybe in the end, somebody will raise their hand on Randall, or he will be valuable in another way. That's what's kind of concerning now. There's some steam also going on right now that we are very interested in Derek White. I think that's not surprising. What I continue to hear is Boston so far is not biting on whatever we've offered them, or maybe maybe they said we just don't want to trade him. White's an interesting cat because he's a really good two-way player. He's also a really dependable guy. He's not a moody guy. He's not as talented, I think most basketball people would say, as Julius Randle at his best. But the tricky part with him is he's coming off a really bad shooting season. He didn't look like the same player, frankly, he had been in Boston's run, etc. Now, is that just an off year? Is that age creeping in? Because I think he's up to 31, I want to say. But I think there's reason to believe that the Wolves are interested in him. You can decide how interested you are in him, but that so far I don't think they're getting much traction. But keep an eye on everything now, man, because this is the time. This is it now. Draft is Tuesday, correct? I believe it's Tuesday.
Yes.
So this is the Friday before. This is the time where it's going to be more than just, endless, irresponsible speculation. Well, there's still going to be some of that. But now is the time where whatever teams are loading up to do or try to do, this is a stretch run now, right? The days leading up to the draft, going through draft night, that's when the chickens come home to roost. This is when you'll find out what teams are willing to do, what's possible to do. And I still expect, I don't think there's any doubt, the Wolves are in that mode where they're going to consider all possibilities. What does White do for you?
I love him. He's a winning player.
Mm-hmm.
He's a winning player. He was on the Olympic team too, right?
Yes, I think that's right.
It's like he's a winning type of player. The shooting stuff, you'd like to think will come back. I think his career numbers are pretty good. I think it would be a really nice addition for sure. And Boston's had to make some cap decisions the last few years too, right? They had to let some guys go,
true.
And
yes.
This was supposed to be a gap year, and it obviously wasn't. Tatum came back. I would be very pleased to have Derek White on the team.
And I have no idea. Like I said, I don't even really believe they take Julius. I mean, because somebody said, well, how about Julius Randle for White? Hello?
Of
course you'd do that at this point.
Of course.
But I don't know that Boston would have any desire to make that deal. And so far, allegedly, Boston is clinging to the idea that we're keeping him. And again, could that be, we're in that poker game where what's real and what's, I'm playing you a little bit. Wink, wink. I want to draw you out. I want to see what you have. I want you to put your cards on the table.
Right.
That's the stretch we're in, which I like because draft night's usually the night.
Yeah.
Because the draft itself is usually a piece of that, of whatever you're going to do. And I think there's more and more of a belief that one of two things are going to have to happen on the Bucks and Giannis. Either they're going to have to come down considerably in what they demand, or they're going to be stuck with them, if you want to use that term.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way out of the box. It's clear Miami hasn't yet come up with the deal that satisfies the Bucks. Unless, deep down, the Bucks do like the deal, but they don't want to rush it. They want to wait to the last minute to see if somebody else can come by. So they're going to make it sound like, we don't love it.
Yep.
That's also part of the poker game. We'll see. But now we're down to it.
The thing, and we talk about this on Enough Said tonight, my feeling on the Giannis deal is, to bring it back full circle to the Cat Rudy discussion, he's making $60 million a year. It's hard to have that guy on your team if you already have a max guy. It's hard to have another super max guy because of the second apron stuff. Like, he's a harder guy to move because of his contract. As silly as that sounds, he's a world champ, MVP, top 5-ish player when he's healthy. But
let me reiterate one other thing, too, to put in the mix. Again, I'm not taking a position on this, but just I want to reaffirm it. The guy who runs this basketball operation loves him. Now, again, that doesn't mean, yes, Giannis loves him. He doesn't think he's done. He doesn't think he's close to done. And that doesn't mean he's going to give everything up, but I think it should at least be put in the mix. I think he's not a guy who says, I'm not sure. Although I'm sure he has his limits on how much he's willing to give up. So we'll see where we are. And so this will be a good time, as I mentioned, to sort of watch this closely and maybe pay a little bit more attention to some of the rumors, because up till now it's been so early that stuff gets, as you know, stuff gets thrown out that is literally just smart, in some cases, basketball people just concocting ideas. Well, here's the kind of player who might help the Wolves. Right. But that doesn't mean that player is available or there's any chance that's going to happen.
Well, now more than ever, too, leaks are not coming from organizations like they probably once did. No. Everybody is pretty buttoned up. Boston's always buttoned up. The Wolves have been buttoned up, right? True. When nobody knew that trade was going down, really either trade, the Rudy trade or the Carl trade, until the second that it went down.
That's right.
A lot of the leaks right now, and I heard Dane Moore say this with Tenna earlier today, are agents trying to drum stuff up for their guys, or in the case of the reported package for the Wolves and Giannis, was the Bucks basically trying to say, hey, here's kind of the thing we're looking at.
Give us everything.
Give us everything, because this is what the Wolves might put on the table, which isn't real life. It just isn't real life.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes, and we'll pay attention to it up until certainly through draft night, too. Let's get top of the hour pause in. Top 5 at 5 will include.
There's a golf major going on right now that no one's talking about because we are now a country of soccer.
You're listening to Barrero on the Fan.
From the